Hello, welcome to Sound Off with System One. I'm your host, Krista Kornchuk, and I'm here today with our recruiting experts to speak with you about making your resume work. Before we get started, here are a few words on System One. System One is a leading provider of specialized, highly technical outsourced services and workforce solutions to critical infrastructure, technology, life sciences, and government sectors, putting more than 650 employees and 9,000 contractors to work in the United States, Canada, and the UK. As you're tuning in today, please join us in the comments. Our marketing team will be monitoring them. Let us know where you're joining from and what industry you work in. And if you have any questions relevant to today's topics, drop them in there as well, and we'll answer as many as possible. And next, I'm going to have our panel of experts introduce themselves. They're also going to be sharing a hot job, which you can view by scanning the QR code or by visiting jobs.system1.com. Janita, we'll start with you.
Hi, welcome. My name is Janita Carter. I sit in Amarillo, Texas. I am a recruiting manager for the Power and Energy Division. My hot job is a DCS commissioning specialist in Fairfield, Texas. This is on a simple cycle gas-fired power plant, and we are needing someone that can do ladder logic changes and tuning the plant using Siemens T3000. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa McNally. I'm from Alta IT Services here in the Washington, D.C. area. We focus primarily on IT staffing, although my hot job today is a planning and procurement specialist at the director level for a leading distributor based in Columbus, Ohio. I'd love to talk to you more about it if you're interested.
Hello, I am Casey Hefner. I'm a recruiter specialist with Joe Lay, located in Bluebell, Pennsylvania. We do clinical and life science staffing. And my hot job is a GCMS or LCMS lab analyst in Denver, Colorado. And they are looking for 1 to 2 years of hands-on experience operating and maintaining the instrumentation.
Fantastic. And make sure you connect with our recruiters if you're interested in those roles. And again, you can scan the QR code to view all other jobs. Without further ado, we're going to get started with our topic. My first question is, from a recruiter's perspective, what's the first thing you look for on a resume before deciding to move forward? Melissa, we'll start with you.
Sure. The first thing that I look at is relevant experience, first and foremost. I always do a quick scan of the entire document, focusing primarily on the most current job and the job immediately prior to that, and then I'll just do an overview of the whole resume. But the first thing I need to see is whether this particular resume fits the position that I'm recruiting for that day.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. What I do first is I scan for the basics right away. So job titles, companies, dates, before I even dive into the details. And if everything lines up there, that's when I start reading deeper.
Agree with you three ladies, but I would like to add for engineering roles, we look at education. That can be a knockout. If you do not have the education that the job description is seeking, even if you have experience, that it could be required to have an engineering degree or some other form of education. So education is always key and at the top of the resume.
That's good to know. I think a lot of times people put their experience first. So thank you for your perspective. My next question, in your experience, what's the most common resume mistake that a candidate can make that might cost them an interview? Casey, we'll start with you.
One big mistake I see is definitely overloading it. Pick a basic font, keep it in black and white, no pictures. When those are added, it becomes distracting and takes away from your actual experience. So keeping your bullet points specific to your learned skills definitely helps.
I would add to that, be specific about the equipment you have used or programs you have used, and tell how you have used those things, so that we're not having to guess whether you have that experience or not, or you can operate that piece of equipment.
Yep, I completely agree. One of the things that will be a pretty quick knockout are typos. especially in this day and age of so many tools that you can use online to make sure that your resume is proofread, grammatically correct. We still see mistakes. It's amazing, but that's a big one. And then I would also mention the maintaining the delicate balance between overloading your resume and then not having enough information on your resume. We want to see that you have the relevant skills, but not so many skills that we can't even decipher exactly it is what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Definitely. And I highly recommend using Grammarly. If anyone's used it, I use it to make all the System 1 content. It's fantastic. Our third question, how should candidates address employment gaps? Is there a better way to explain, or should you let them speak for themselves? Janita, we'll start with you.
Well, I believe it depends on how long the gap is. If it is a long gap, highlight it, taking care of a spouse, or, give a little bit of detail about what is going on. If it's a short gap, I don't think there's any need to highlight it on the resume, but I would say if it's over a year long, you should definitely give a little blurb.
Yep, I completely agree. Just a quick one-liner just to explain if it's an extended period of time. If it's a short gap, that happens all the time, especially in contracting where you might be in between positions.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with both of you. Context can go a long way in this situation, and we know that life happens. So seeing that little note on your resume just stops us from wondering or assuming based on the writing.
Absolutely. And we're getting a couple questions in about summaries. Carl is asking this question. I'm going to paraphrase it. Does it help to have an intro paragraph hitting the relevant highlights? Because he is saying that not all experiences will show all of the relevant highlights that are needed for the next role that they're applying for.
Yeah, I think so. A quick couple sentences of intro and then maybe some bullet points of your most relevant experience really stands out.
I think adding an intro paragraph also helps you target the role that you're looking to make a switch into. So highlighting that in roles that you are looking for can help in a paragraph as well at the top.
I agree. I think they got that covered.
Awesome. We're going to move to our next question. For people switching industries or functions, what's the best way to make their past experience feel relevant to a new role? Melissa, we'll start with you.
Sure. I would always recommend pointing out any new education or classwork that you've taken on the new industry that you're looking to get into, really just to show that you're taking the initiative to learn the new things. And then also, of course, relaying previous experience that you have that might be relevant to the new role. Really take a deep, hard look at your skills and experience and point out just a few things that show that you have very relevant skills for the new position.
Yeah, absolutely. Connect the dots for us a little bit, pull forward those transferable skills, such as leadership, project management, and any technical skills that would be beneficial to the new role or industry that you're looking into can definitely help.
I would just add, from the perspective of a real life perspective, my husband, who was a heavy detailed design engineer, focused on calculations, focused on models, concrete models, those types of things. When he made a transition into an engineering ambassador for a nuclear plant, he was able to take those skills from being a design engineer and help develop roles for engineers coming out of college, or help the new nuclear plant find the best engineers and then help train them. So he was able to take his real life experience and roll it into a role that actually benefits lots of people, and he's been very happy and successful in that. So sometimes taking what you know and rolling it into something else can really boost your not accessibility, but boost your the way you advertise yourself.
Absolutely. I love the real life example. We have another question from Allie. It's not popping up, but she's asking how important is a LinkedIn profile in completing and complementing a resume with tricky scenarios. Sorry about that.
Well, I would say right now, LinkedIn is my go-to place to find candidates. So if your resume or your profile is not up to date, I would go do that when we get off this call today, because we look at that as recruiters. I know I look there and I find more people more applicable for the jobs I'm looking for off of LinkedIn. So it's important to me.
Critical, absolutely critical that you have your LinkedIn profile updated and that you have one. Sometimes we talk to people that may have been in the industry for a long time and they haven't looked for a job in maybe 15 years, but it's just so important. It's the first place we would look, and it's also the first place that the hiring teams look.
Completely agree. Even when we're not actively searching for a role, we're still connecting with candidates as well for future opportunities. So making sure as well that your LinkedIn also matches your resume is a good detail, because sometimes there's discrepancies and that just causes confusion.
I would also add too that sometimes as a recruiter, if you're a part of our network, we may reach out to you if we see we have a job that we're not 100% sure, oh, what do they really do in this role? We may reach out to you on LinkedIn just to add knowledge to ourselves and then build that network.
Absolutely. And what's the best way to handle overlapping roles? For example, a side hustle while working full time. Casey.
Not an issue at all. Just be sure that they are clearly separated on your resume. Highlight your full-time industry position first, and then list your side hustle below with its own bullets. And if your side hustle does have any relevant skills, absolutely add them.
I would say from an engineering standpoint, you need to make sure that your side job or your second job is not going to give the indication that you're using proprietary information, because that could get you in hot water really quickly. So make sure that one, you're truthful, two, you're showing that you're not crossing over into a hot zone.
Yeah, I agree. We do have some customers on the IT side that prohibit side hustles if they, of course, if it's unrelated entirely to IT, then and it doesn't infringe on your job, then that's not as much of an issue. But we do have some clients that mandate that you don't have a second position. For instance, if you're a shift person and you work 2 different shifts, that's definitely an issue that I've seen come up before. But the biggest thing to be aware of is just making sure that your full-time position is highlighted, and then also the side hustle impacts in no way, shape, or form. There's to be no accessing other systems from your client system or anything like that. It has to be completely separate.
Fantastic. That's good advice. And how do you advise candidates who have many short stints, such as under a year at different companies? Janita, we'll start with you.
Well, direct hire looks for longevity. If you're contracting, they're very, as a contract hire, we're very familiar with temporary staffing being a short assignment. I think if you address your role in the objectives of what you're looking for, whether you're looking for a long-term position or a temporary assignment or a contract position, I think you should have no problem. It just depends upon what you're looking for.
Yeah, I agree. And if they are temporary or contract roles, make note of that. Especially in clinical and life sciences, we see it all the time on candidates' resumes. We hire for it all the time. And it can even be beneficial gaining skills from multiple different companies in a shorter span of time than the direct hire roles sometimes. and that does give you a broader range of experiences.
Yeah, I agree. I would say that to highlight it, make sure that you've noted that it was a short-term contract. Some customers want to see more longevity and some don't mind. So you just, like anything else, it will be a match for some and not a match for all. But as long as you highlight that they were short-term positions, you have laid out that it happened exactly as it should have.
Fantastic. And we have a good question coming in from Holly. It's a long one, so I'm going to paraphrase it. She wants to transition industries. It's an unrelated career, and she wants to know the best way to express that on her LinkedIn and her resume without turning off any hiring managers. That's just looking at the current job or the last job.
I would absolutely highlight your clinical trial experience in a post, or you can add your open to work section as well, and you can list the roles that you're looking for. And in your candidate summary, you can explain, like we said, a short little blurb about why you kind of transitioned and what you're looking to get back into. But highlighting that experience that you do have is definitely important.
Yep, I agree wholeheartedly. Yep.
Me too.
Fantastic. And our next question, how much should a resume be tailored for each job posting? Casey, we'll start with you.
It does not need a full rewrite every time. Just tweak your summary a little bit, tweak some bullet points to hit keywords or skills that are fitting for the role that you're looking for.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely don't rewrite because you want it to match your LinkedIn profile. But if there are relevant points that you just didn't think you needed, or there were some things you wanted to add in based on this new position, absolutely do so.
I would say use the job posting that you're applying to as kind of a memory jogger. Look at those details of what they're asking for. Read your resume, and always be honest, always be ethical in the fact that you can actually perform those duties.
Yeah.
But maybe there's something that you forgot, and you think, oh, I can do that. Go back in and add that. But, in all actuality, if you put something on your resume that you do not have skills for, or that you do not know how to do, it will come into the light, and then your credibility will be broken. So just use the job description as a memory jogger. Be credible, and add those little tweaks as you need them.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. And we have some really great resources on our website on just how to tailor your resume, so make sure you check that out. We have a question coming in from Cindy. A previous employer went through several acquisitions and spinoffs while I was there. Should I just keep the current name or list all previous names?
Well, I can answer that one, because if you look at my profile, it kind of gets a little bit crazy, because I was Precision Resource, then I was Zachary, and then Zachary sold our division to System 1. So it can be a little confusing to put it on your LinkedIn profile. One, because LinkedIn does not make that easy to do. So I try to always put my dates as the date I started at Precision Resource is now my start date with System 1, but I still have each entity listed out as when I worked there and when the acquisitions took place. So if I'm ever questioned, I can say, okay, System 1 acquired Precision Resource Company from Zachary on this date, and it matches. So I think you have to be a little bit creative, but it is possible to do.
Well said. And just a quick question from Michael. Should I know I was on a contract? Good question.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Easy peasy. And our next question, are cover letters still worth the time, or are there better ways to stand out? Melissa, we'll start with you.
I've been doing this a long time, and I don't read full cover letters so much anymore. I find that I go immediately to the resume and I kind of take a quick glance at the relevant experience first, as I mentioned earlier, and then I use the intro paragraph and the core competencies or skills highlights to give me that summary that in many cases would have been included on the cover letter. And I really use the same information when I write the cover sheet to send the resume to our clients. I also use those points to create that or to kind of pull all that information out in addition to perhaps any notes that I would have obtained during the interview with the candidate. But no, I don't think a really long cover letter suits people so much anymore, in my opinion.
Agreed. The summary is a good place to start, but I do think that networking, like we talked about, a strong LinkedIn page, a quick outreach, has a bigger impact than a cover letter does.
I have found that most cover letters can be viewed as boasting, and I don't hardly ever read them, not very often at all. And I really look more at the objective line in your resume to see where you're going. If you're wanting to relocate to another area, a quick line of looking for an electrical engineer in Corpus Christi, willing to relocate, does the same thing for me as a cover letter. So I don't ever read a cover letter.
Good to know. Cover letters are out, and we had a viewer say that they do short introduction emails instead that are to the point. So very good to know. I have one more question from our audience. She wants to know, can you share a success story of someone who overcame a tricky resume situation and landed a great role? That's a good question, Allie.
Well, I always see resumes that I always kind of scratch my head and go, really, what is this person looking for? What are they wanting? And so normally what I would do is I would have a quick call with the candidate, and I would say, as a recruiter, that's our job. Our job is to help our candidate look the very best when we present them to our client. So that's a really good reason to use System 1, because we can help with that resume that maybe you just didn't convey what you knew well. So we can work with you, talk through that, advise you on changing and making sure that you really do have the skills that you're adding to that. And then let us, as the recruiter, as Melissa and Casey have said, we present you basically with a commercial of what we have learned about you. And lots of times you will land a great role if you use a recruiter that has a good network, a good relationship with their client, and a good relationship with their candidates.
Going back to the short stint question, I remember I had a candidate who had a few short stints on her resume. It's not going to stop me from giving you a call. So once I got her on the phone, we were able to talk that over. And when presenting her to the client, we were able to paint a picture of her background and what she was doing previously, whether it was contract, being laid off. There was just a few things that happened kind of back to back. And with us, like I said, being able to paint that picture, we helped her land a direct hire role to give her some of that job stability there.
Fantastic. So if you haven't connected with a System 1 recruiter yet, this is your sign. We are out of time for today, but thank you so much. We appreciate everybody that commented. Don't forget to follow System 1 on LinkedIn if you're not already, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And make sure you tune in to our next episode of Sound Off with System 1 on Friday, September 5th at 2 p.m., where we'll be having a live Q&A. See you then.